Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. This is the pre-game show. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday evening. As wonderful as you can have. If you're in a lockdown, welcome. Join me in the club of being depressed. But however, we all have a treat in store because for the next 90 minutes, we get to watch Manchester United go top of the league again. Can't wait for this to get clipped up. Comments, let me know how you're all doing. What are you expecting from the game today? I reckon this should be one of the games a few goals past someone. We're due a proper comfortable scoreline. We've not really had one of them before this season. The only one that I can think of is Leeds, and since then we've not really kicked it to gear. This is one of those winnable games. However, there is certain aspects you need to think about in terms of Sheffield United, but we'll get into those in a little bit. Get in the comments, let me know how you're feeling, give us your score predictions, and also what I want you to do is hit that like button. Let's get to that 20 like target. And we are still running the competition. So I'm going to set us a like target of 35. Last time I was on here, we hit the 30 mark. So I'm going to go 35 this time. If we get to the 35 likes, we will do a question, which I haven't actually prepared for. I should probably do that. I'll do that somewhere. Or I'll ask one of my guests in the backstage to think of a good question. And whoever answers that right, the first 5 will go into our draw, the prize draw, to win some Football Town merch. They've given us some merch to give away once we get to 2.5k or 3k. We'll be doing a prize draw. So all of you who get these questions right, who are shouted out and put in the draw, you will have a chance to win that merch. Now, let's get straight into it. Sheffield United then. On paper, it looks easy. They've only won one game this season. That came in one of their last 5 games. I can't remember who they won against. This doesn't matter to me. They've only scored 10 goals, I believe. I believe that's right. 10 goals they've scored. That's where their problem lies. When you're bottom of the league, you sort of think, oh well, it's the defense that's letting them down. It's actually not. They've only conceded 2 less goals than Leeds United. So, and let's not forget, Leeds are up in 12th, and they're being lauded as one of the better teams in the league and possibly pushing for Europe next season. So. It's not the defence that's letting Sheffield United down, and I feel Chris Wilder has been put under a little bit too much pressure because no one can really do a better job than him in that club. He's made for that club. That is his club. So hopefully, we can beat this team. But I do kind of want them to stay up because they're a very, very well-run club. They're a very historical club. I have no problems with them, so I'd like them to stay up. Whether they will or not is another question. I'm not seeing any comments at the minute. Guys, get your comments in. Tell me your score predictions. Unless my stream's completely off the chart, I'm not seeing any of your comments. Let me just make sure that I'm on the right screen. However, we've got 3 fantastic guests joining me on the pre-game show. You'd have all seen that on the tweet. We've got Hammer, who's going to come in first. Then we've got Connor. And then we've got Stu, who you'd have seen on the last Wall of Reds. We're welcoming new faces to the channel. Get in touch with any of the hosts or Ben, and we'll see what we can do. We'll get you involved. We're always welcome. This is an inclusive fan channel, so come get involved. First question then. Greenwood to start. Ooh, I hope he does. I don't know if any of you follow my own channel, but I did a preview on there, and my predicted team included Mason Greenwood. I thought he played very well against Liverpool in midweek. Not midweek, it's at the weekend. And it was a good response because, his celebration and his Instagram post after that, it was directed at those people who said, he wasn't good enough, he was out of form. And I love the mentality of the kid. He's 19 years old and he's got the mentality of a World Cup winner at 29. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible. Mason Greenwood is going to go far. And I think if he performs anything like he did against Liverpool, he deserves to start today because, he is a fantastic talent. And to not start him would be silly. It would be silly. But yeah, I do think Mason Greenwood will start. It's interesting to see who we will rest because I think we've played a lot of games this season, and we've not really rotated the defence a lot. I think we could have rotated it a little bit better. We have rotated it in places since Bailly's been fit again, who I personally think should start today. In my predicted 11, I had De Gea in goal, obviously, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw at fullback. I had Eric Bailly at centre-back simply because I want us to play a higher line. We're going to have more of the ball. Let's play a higher line and have a recovery defender. Let's have a quicker defender than Lindelof. Bailly's quick. Let's have him recover. for Harry Maguire if we lose the ball. And I think in midfield I went for Matic and Pogba. That seems to be Ollie's go-to when we have the ball in games that he expects us to dominate. So I'd like us to go with that. And the three in front, I had Greenwood, Bruno, and Rashford. Now, a lot of people replied to that post saying that they think Rashford should be rested. I do agree. I just don't think he will. And I think on form, he deserves to play more than Martial does. I think just when Rashford's, he looked off the pace, he looked like he might need a rest. Then he played against Liverpool and he played very well. I think it would be wrong to drop him. Psychologically, we've got to keep him running, keep him going. Let's see how he does. And I actually had Martial up front. I want us to rest Cavani. I think he needs to be rested for that Arsenal game. I think it's really important that he plays that game. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyone else get in the comments? Let me know. What do you think? Who do you think is going to start today? Let me know. What are you expecting from the game? Sheffield United. Any key players we need to look out for there? Personally, for me, Ethan Ampadu is one. He's a player I really rate. Was at Chelsea. They let him go. He went to Leipzig, had a spell there. Was decent over there. And I think it's a bit of a step down, to Sheffield, but it's somewhere he'll get games, which is important for any youngster. He's currently playing for them either at centre-back or in a 6. I personally like him in the 6. I think he's got all the attributes to be there. I think he might become that later on down the line. But yeah, he's definitely a player that I'd be looking out for. Other than that, David Mcgoldrick's one. He's always, he's always a threat. No matter what form their attack is in, David Mcgoldrick is the informed player. He's got 5 goals for them this season. I believe that's the most. But he scored half their goals. So there you go. David Mcgoldrick is their key player. Fred Woodward's in the chat. When will Diallo make it into a matchday squad? Well, if Ollie's words are anything to go by, it's not that far away. It sounds like he's really impressing in training. What we heard from, Atalanta was that he was very highly rated. He was very impressive, even in the few training sessions that he had. And he's a very exciting prospect. And I'm interested to see what we do with him, because obviously Pelistri's been linked to the loan move, so that gives Diallo a bit more of a say in getting opportunities. And I personally think Diallo is ahead of Pelistri in the pecking order anyway. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. I don't think we're too far away. Possibly a couple of weeks out, I think. Maybe in the FA Cup. Who have we got in the FA Cup? West Ham. Could see him there. Stuart's in the comments. Tough game tonight. Confident of a win, but hard fought for. Yeah, we will have to fight hard for it. Sheffield United are going to make it really, really tough for us to get anywhere. And we've got to be on it. Our attacking play has to be spot on. I wouldn't be surprised if he's done Donny van de Beek today. Might be interesting to see if we start him. We are just over 5 minutes away from the team he's coming in, so I'm going to bring us our first guest. You already know him by now. Let's bring in the legend that is Hammer. How you doing, mate?
Doing all right, man. How you been?
I'm very good indeed. How are you feeling ahead of this one then? Are you confident? Do you think we should be scoring a few?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I've been thinking about some of the stuff that we're getting to a point now in the season, and what we're still in the challenge for. These are games, I think, like you said, these are must-win games. These are games that that this is how these are the games that you must win to get the title, right? You get the 3 points, or you need to get the 3 points, and then you go and battle against the harder teams who are also battling for the title. So for this game, yeah, I'm confident we're going to win. I'm not sure if we're going to get a lot of goals, but I could also see that happening. But it's a game I think we're going to win. I think it's a game that we need to win as well, especially for keeping up with challenging for the title.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I've always said that, after a big game, now it might not have been in the league, it was in the FA Cup, but a big game against Liverpool, when you win that big game, your next big game is your next game. It gives you a certain momentum, and you've got to carry that on. And I've said it for a couple of weeks now. We need to be the one setting the pace. City have just taken our spot at the top of the league. How important is it that we continue to win these games and put that pressure on City to catch up, rather than us, slipping down and going up? How important is it that we keep winning games right now?
It's really important, because I think there's a window right now, and obviously I played sports growing up, and I think at any level you don't wish injuries even on any opponents, right? But City, even though they played well in the last game, right? Is De Bruyne still hurt and those kind of things? Yeah, so they have some key players out, and I think especially for this window, when they have key players out and there's possibilities of them dropping points because of that, we need to get all the points that we can get. So yeah, these games, this one and these going through, we need to win to keep the pace and not have to chase when City and the other title contending teams get to full health.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You don't wish injury on anyone. You don't want to put that kind of energy out there, but definitely is a big plus for us. For them losing a player like Kevin De Bruyne would be like us losing Bruno Fernandes almost. We've got to take advantage of that. But however, you have to say, City are responding. I mean, players like Gundogan, they're stepping up, and their squad depth is really coming into play. What about us then? Do you think we've got the depth to keep up with something like that? So say if one of our players got injured, are you confident that someone could step up?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously we all agree as a fan base that the team still needs to be completed, but we've seen what this team can do playing at their best when everybody's happy, when everybody's playing together. And, whether it's grinding out wins or having statement wins, they can get the job done. And so I think the depth that we do have in certain positions, right? I think we have like some midfield depth and things like that. I think Cavani adds some depth and stuff to our attack, right? But if obviously, for example, right back, right, we don't really have that type of depth that we would like to have. So in certain positions, we have the depth, but not in all of them. And that's why we need to keep up on the things that we need to keep up on just in case, there's a bump in the road that comes along.
Yeah, and I'll ask you about the Diallo thing. We've not seen a lot of him. We only know bits and bobs. For those who haven't seen it already, we did a video. I hosted that video. I did an interview with two journalists who knew about Pellistri and Diallo, and they both told us loads about him. So make sure to go and check that video out after this. But what do you think about him? Do you think we need to be cautious with him because he's so young and, try and save him for next season? Or do you think he can play a part this season?
I think he could play a part, but not maybe what some people might be thinking, right? Like, I wouldn't have mind if he was at least on the bench today because of the team we're playing. If we ended up taking control of the game and going up a few goals, sure, at the end of the game, let him get a debut. But from what we've been hearing, and now what we're hearing already in training from us, right, not from Atlanta anymore, or Atalanta, it sounds like he has the ability to come in and play a rotation role, obviously, right? We're not going to throw him in and be like, hey, go try to, break a game open for us. But I think he can play a part, even if it is a small part. But yeah, it sounds like he has the talent to come in and do something. Yeah,
definitely, and it's exciting. We've not had a young prospect like that's come from abroad anyway since someone like Ronaldo. I guess that's probably the last time we've had something as big as this. Just before I go on to our next point, we're about 3 minutes away from kickoff, so make sure again to like the video. If we get to our 35 like target, I will ask a question or something. I'll think of something, and we'll give 5 of you an opportunity to enter our prize draw. Let's see if we can hit that. If not, we've got the post match, so no worries about that. So yeah, in terms of today, then, what team do you think is likely to be put out, and what would you like us to see set up to beat Sheffield?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see a setup just to go and take it, right? I think we have the talent, we have the type of players who can do it. So. And we're in that type of position, especially now at the top of the table, right? So we should set up to go and take it. I agreed with most of your starting 11, except I think I would rest Shaw and play Tellers. And yeah, I kind of agreed with the guys up front. I wanted to see Greenwood come in and get some time after scoring a goal to see if we can keep building on that momentum. In the midfield, I agreed with. So. Yeah, besides Tellers, I think that your starting 11 is a pretty good way to go about
it. I know something. I'm not just all about shouting that we're going to win the league. Sometimes I talk some sense, but we are going to win the league. Let's not be stupid. Let's have a look at what the comments are saying then. With regards to mentality, it might be better for us to be chasing City at this stage with the view to overtake in the next 10 games rather than leading now and buckling under the pressure. Well, we'll ask you on that. Do you think this team has the mentality to be able to try and lead, or do you think, you'd rather us just stay within reach and then see what we can do towards April, May.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really like that mentality. Obviously we've seen it in the amount of games where we came back and won, but I'd rather be the one in the driver's seat and I want to be in control of us getting a title, right? I don't want to have to be like, oh, we're chasing, so let's hope City or somebody loses some points and we can take advantage of that. No, I'd rather them have to try to make the points up on us. So I get what he's saying because of what we've been doing in games where we go down, but in terms of winning the league, I'd rather not be trying to chase it at the end of the season. I'd rather be in the driver's seat, making everybody else chasing us.
No, I 100% agree with that. I don't like that idea that we're not great and so we want to chase it. No. We need to develop that mentality. The whole reason that we're losing semi-finals is because we don't have that mentality to go and win that. So I'd like us to develop that winning mentality. Let's start leading games. And let's see where we can go from there. Also, the team has just come through, so I'm about to read it out for you if I can refresh the page. Right then, they're still doing this stupid numerical order, so I'm going to read it out to you now. David De Gea in goal. The back four is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Axel Tuanzebe starts for United. That's a big, big one. Harry Maguire starts at centre-back alongside him. It's Alex Telles at left-back. In midfield, we have got Nemanja Matic and Paul Pogba. The three ahead are Mason Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes, and Marcus Rashford, with Anthony Martial up front. On the bench for United, Dean Henderson, Victor Lindelof, Luke Shaw, Fred, James, Mata, McTominay, Van der Beek, and Cavani. It is a very much rotated team, but it still does look a little bit strong. What do you make of that team?
I'm happy with the Telles thing, like I said earlier. And then Axel. All right, well, you know what? We all seen what he can do, and we know he has the talent. And I guess it is a game where he can play, even though it is important for us to go up. But it should be against an opponent that, with the talent we've seen from him, that he's going to play well. So I kind of like it. The attack is what we both agreed on. The starting 11 that you put out. So I like it. It's the attacking that we need. I think we're solid in the back, even with Axel getting some game time. And I think it's a team that that Ole set up to go take the game.
Yeah, Bruno's definitely picked that team. He's going to look at Axel and go, you're starting at centre back. I think this is a good point from Fred. Bailly must be injured.
Yeah,
he's not even on the bench. That's probably why. Otherwise, you'd think this is probably his game. And you know what? Starting Axel sort of goes with what I wanted us to do in terms of playing a faster centre back, playing a higher line. So that's not too bad. And I love Axel. I want him to start more games. But in terms of that attack, then we've got Rashford and Martial back in the team. In terms of Martial, what do you make of his current form? Because he's not in the best of form, and he needs to improve. What would you say is most concerning about his current form?
I mean, especially with the position he plays, it has to just be that he's not putting them in the back of the net. It's the biggest part of being a striker. And as much as everybody does appreciate the other parts of his game, we need him to get back on that ball of getting the ball in the back of the net. And I thought he was coming around a curve like a couple of weeks ago, but it looks like he hasn't reached that curve yet.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. It is a strong team. It is a very exciting team. Before we let you go, then give us your final thoughts, what you expect from the game, and give us a cheeky score prediction.
Yeah, I'm expecting us to go from the first whistle to go try to take it. Right, we set up for the strong team, and it's set up with a team that has offense in it. Right, Telles and I love seeing Telles and Pogba on the left. I don't know why. I always feel like they're going to do something crazy. So with that team, if we can take our chances, right, if we can be clinical, then we can win probably, I'll say 3-1.
3-1. He's going for a Sheffield United goal. A very rare Sheffield United goal. Hammer, thanks for coming on, mate. You've been awesome as always. Enjoy the game. We'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, guys. Have a good one.
In a bit. Right, that was Hammer. We've got two more guests to come. We've got Connor waiting, who's going to come up next. Before that, I want you all to hit the like button because it is free of charge and it takes absolutely no time at all. So make sure you do that right now. And if we get to my 35 like target, I will put 5 of you in a prize draw. Let's do that then. Before I go to Connor, I will read you the Sheffield United team news because it is important to know what we're up against. For them, then, they actually line up their team in a sensible way. Their social media, they don't do it in a stupid numerical order. They show you the formation. Ramsdale in goal. Their back five is Baldock, Basham, Jagielka, and Padu, who I mentioned, and Brian at left wing back. Their midfield three consists of Lundstrom, Norwood, and Fleck, with Mcgoldrick and Sharp up front. Their subs are Fotheringham, Lowe, Bogle, Musset, Brewster, and Burke. I believe they had a few injuries, didn't they? Which is why their bench is looking a little weaker than usual anyway. And they haven't actually named the maximum number of subs they can name. So, yes, I must be right in that. Well done, Karthik. You've done your research. Let's bring Connor in. Our captain, Harry Maguire, is in the background. Let's bring him in. How are you doing, Slabhead?
Yeah, brilliant for that intro. Love that. The only thing that can ruin this show is my internet. So
lovely. Connor was just briefly enjoying my little realization at how good my match preparation was there, as I realized that the injury thing was right. I'm happy with that. Initially, then, your reaction to the team news?
Yeah, relatively happy with it. As Hammer just said there, it's very attacking, which is nice to see. It's very clear, and it's been evident for a few weeks. Ole's rotation of the squad has been brilliant in resting certain players when they need a rest and taking people out when they're not necessarily on form. And I think looking at the Luke Shaw and Tellers situation, this is a perfect game for Tellers. As you've already mentioned, we're going to have a lot of the ball, going to be on the front foot for most of the game, and Luke Shaw is probably not needed because we're not going to be on the back foot, and they don't have too many threats going forward apart from Mcgoldrick. So no, I'm happy with that midfield, and I pretty much agree with everything that's been said, obviously with Matic in the midfield as well. When we have got a lot of the ball, he is the best player to play there, in my opinion, because he can get the ball into Pogba and Fernandes quicker than the other midfielders we've got. And that front three speaks for itself. I hope Martial can get a goal today and hopefully kickstart his season, because as of yet, he hasn't really had that start to a season that we would have hoped after the kind of numbers that him and Rashford were putting up last year, and Greenwood, actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's important that, we get Martial firing again, because it's been a long time now since we can say he had a good game. We've seen iffy games, we've seen okay games, but we've not actually seen him say, he's had a great game. But we'll see. Brown Knights in the chat says Harry Shaw is in the house. Love to see it. Joe's in the comments. Joseph, first of all, happy birthday, mate. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And also, fuck you. All right? Where's your beard? I don't see you with a beard. Fuck off. Right? I do what I can. This is the best I can do. It's not terrible. It's not fantastic. It's what I can do. Right? Leave me alone. But have a good birthday, mate. Everyone wish Joe a happy birthday. And if you think Joe's amazing, like the video. Sorry, Joe. I feel like I've just used you there. Connor, in terms of Sheffield, then, is there anyone that you're worried about in particular? Because like I mentioned, they haven't scored that many goals, but who do you expect to give us some trouble?
Nobody really. Probably Mcgoldrick. He's caused us problems in pretty much every game we've played against them, to be honest. Even though just after lockdown we beat them 3-0 at home, he was still causing problems in that game. So probably only Mcgoldrick. Yeah. I think with Maguire and Tuanzebe, we don't need to worry about the long ball too much, especially coming from the wide areas, which they like to do. So no, I don't think there's too much threat energy. So they don't score that many. They don't concede that many. So I don't think it's going to be as open as people think. I might be completely wrong, but I don't think it's going to be a 5-6-0 like a lot of people are expecting it to be. But they don't score that. They seem to score more actually against us. So maybe we should be slightly worried. But no, I think maybe Mcgoldrick, but I don't think we need to be looking at them too much.
Yeah, it's mostly going to be their defense that gives us any kind of trouble, because, as I said, they've not actually conceded that many goals. It's like you said, it's their attack that's doing them the damage. In terms of us, and if we do need to change the game a little bit, we've got options off the bench. We've seen Juan Mata in there. He's not actually played a lot of games. Can you see him coming on? Because he is the kind of player who suits this kind of game, surely.
He does, but I'd worry if Mata was to come on, where he'd come on, because I really don't like seeing Mata out on the right-hand side. So if he was going to come in, you'd assume it's probably for Greenwood, because if we're chasing the game in the 60th, 70th minute odd, Cavani's already on the pitch. Van der Beek doesn't seem to get a look in Premier League games that often anyway. So if Mata was to come on, it would probably be on the right-hand side, and he's just quite ineffective for me when he does come on the right. So I wouldn't expect to see him come on. I'd like to see him come on because I think he's a brilliant footballer, but I just worry where he would come on because I don't think he suits that right-hand side at all.
No, he really doesn't, and his pace doesn't help him either. I mean, his lack of pace, rather. I've always said if Juan Mata was fast, he'd be one of the best players in the world because his brain is next level. I wouldn't have even minded if we started him in this game, just because it's the kind of game that he suits. But when you've got Bruno Fernandes, you're never going to get in. Brown Knight says the United app shows Rashford at centre forward and Martial at left wing. That is backwards as fuck. No, that's never going to happen.
Do not want to see that.
No, that's just not a thing. Joe's here saying, I think you look fierce handsome, if that helps. Thank you, Joe. You'll get your $5 later. Any other thoughts then? I mean, in terms of, we spoke about Tuanzebe. We spoke about Tellez. Like you said, it's a very attacking team. What about Matic and Pogba? Because we don't... we don't think that Matic should be playing every week, but how important is he in games like this in terms of retention of the ball and just keeping the game moving?
Yeah, it's exactly those two things you said there. Like I touched on earlier, he moves the ball into Pogba and Fernandes quite easily, and it allows them to move up the pitch. They can start 10 yards further forward when Matic is there, because Matic a lot of the time is playing that low CDM role, also drops in between the two centre-backs, and that also allows our full-backs to go really high and wide as well, because essentially Matic drops so deep that he's also pretty much in a back three a lot of the time, and when we're attacking forward, he's on that kind of halfway line ready to play the ball into the attackers as well. So in these kind of games, when we've got a lot of the ball and we can push the full-backs really high, we don't need a McTominay and Fred in there. And like you said, Matic, if Matic still had his pace about him and was about 4 or 5 years younger, he would be starting every game. I personally think he should be if he was that age. Obviously, he's a bit older now and the legs are not really there. But that Matic-Pogba partnership does work. We saw it when Ollie first came in as interim all those couple of years ago. And even recently, when he's come in, he's done a job, and it's good to have that depth and rotation, because go back a year or 2 years ago, we were playing the same 11 pretty much every week, and you could see that, and even at the back end of last season, how far we dropped off because of the fitness of the players and the fatigue started to kick in. So the fact that we can rotate a midfield and a defense and an attack actually quite often is a good tool to have.
Yeah, I'm still happy that we can rotate this much, considering what the team is and the last team that we played. There is a fair bit of rotation in there, and it still looks strong. I mean, I don't see an area that I'm not happy with in that team. It looks quite strong. How important is it that we rotate our team? Because I mentioned, as Hammer mentioned, that squad depth is going to become a thing. City's squad depth is absolutely ridiculous. Gundogan stepped up for them when De Bruyne has been injured. Do you see us using players like Van der Beek, players like, maybe even Axel, maybe Tellez in a similar way? Or do you think, we need to stay with our first choice, strongest team as long as we can?
I think there's probably 7 or 8, maybe 9 players that should be starting, especially in the Premier League. I think they can probably cope with playing a couple of games a week and then the occasional time where we get 1 game a week. You're talking like Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Fernandes, Pogba, and Rashford, and so on. But the fact that we can rotate these other players, and when we do get into the Europa League campaign again,
fuck's sake!
I had to mention it. That's where we can see the full rotation, because that's when you can rest your Fernandes, your Pogba's, Rashford, and hopefully Maguire as well. So it's going to become crucial, especially towards the latter end of the season, because we've got a decent run now. But you look at our fixtures in March, April time, when we come around to play Liverpool again and Leicester and City and so on. And that's when we're going to need the players at peak fitness and not fatigued. And if we go, obviously, the distance in the FA Cup as well, which I'm sure we'd all want us to see, we're going to need to be able to rotate in these smaller, I'm going to call them smaller Premier League clashes, and certainly in the Europa League as well.
Mate, if we're still top by the time fucking Europa League rolls around, I'll be playing in that tournament. No one else is going to be playing in there. I'll ring up fucking Ollie and go, you know what, sign me on for the Europa League. I'll just turn up and we'll see what happens, because if we get to that stage and we're still in a serious title charge, we're not going to be playing Europa League football seriously. Come on now. Right, before we let you go then, we'll go for final thoughts on the game and a quick score prediction.
So relatively confident, as you can probably tell. Why shouldn't we be? We're going to be top of the league in just over 2 hours' time. fully waiting for that to get clipped up. But no, like I said earlier, I'd like to see Martial get a goal. I'd also like to see Greenwood carry on and kick on from his goal against Liverpool, which was brilliantly taken. And it'll be good to see those guys really start to kick on and try and get the They're not. I don't think they're going to get the numbers they got last year, purely because it's later in the season, unless they go on a crazy run of form. But if they can just get up and start seeing that form, we saw this front three do. Certainly after the first lockdown. That's what I'm excited for today. So I just hope those three can get a couple of goals between them. Obviously, Fernandes and Pogba as well for my fantasy team. No, I'm going to go with 3-0, same as it was when we came out of lockdown. And let's go. I'm going to say a Pogba first goal.
Pogba first goal, 3-0. Love it. Thanks, Connor. I will see you soon. Enjoy the game.
See you in a bit.
Right, we've got one more guest then. He's waited very patiently in the backstage. We'll bring him on in just a sec. Everyone who's watching right now, I want you to hit the like button. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, head over to youtube.com/AllForUnited. Come join us there. Make sure you subscribe. And if in the unlikely event we do hit 35 likes by the end of this video, I will get 5 more of you into our prize draw. Otherwise, we'll try it in the post-match. That's fine. We've got every video on All for United to try and get you into a tournament. So that's fine. Brown Knight in the comments, he says, we're winning the treble, Karthik. What are you on about? Yes, true. But, I'd happily trade Europa League for the Premier League. I think everyone would. Right, so let's bring on our final guest then. Before that, I will quickly read out the team again in case you missed it. It's rolling on the screen below. Our subs then, because you can read. Henderson, Lindelof, Shaw, Fred, James, Mata, McTominay, Van der Beek and Cavani. Big news for United is Axel Tuanzebe starts for United, as does Alex Telles. Otherwise, it's Martial up front with Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford and Bruno, with Matic and Pogba in midfield and an unchanged fullback and goalkeeper section. Now, let's bring in our final guest. It is a man you would have seen on the Wall of Reds very, very recently. It is Stu. Stu, how you doing, mate? I believe you're muted.
Sorry, Karthik, that was my mistake.
You go.
Yeah,
there you go. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm good. I've listened intently to what the lads have had to say. Yeah, pretty informative, and they know their stuff.
First of all, before I ask you about today, how did you find your debut on Wall of Reds?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I watched it back, and I thought to myself, "Oh, crikey, maybe I could have said a few things a bit different." But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought Joe was a good host, and so
Joe's an average at best host. It's fine.
Average at best, yeah. And I think I'm doing the podcast tomorrow lunchtime with Ben. So yeah. So, but no, really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Oh, decent. And don't worry about saying something different, because if I did that, I'd have to stop talking. I'll ask you about the team then. What did you make of the team itself? What are your opinions?
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, I quite like it. I'll tell you what I would have done. I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I may have been tempted to rest Pogba today, and
interesting.
Yeah, give Donny a go. The thing is, Solskjaer's been quite vocal about Donny over the last week, saying that we're going to utilise him later on in the season. But you've got to get Premier League experience. You have to get Premier League experience. I think this is a great game for Donny to really know what the hustle and bustle of a Premier League midfield is like. They're hard tackling Sheffield United, as we all know. And they're pretty decent in there. Ollie Burke's, pretty quick. I quite like him. I'm with you on Ampadu. I think he's a cracking player. Really do think he's a cracking player. And I wouldn't rule out Billy Sharp. He's a bit of a jack in the box, and he does worry me. And I think the way that Wilder will set Sheffield United up is probably they're going to try and suffocate us. They really are going to try and suffocate us. And if Martial and Greenwood, if they have poor games like they did against Liverpool recently, we could find it a long night. However, we've got Bruno. We've got a good solid back four. I don't see why we can't go and win maybe 2-0, but I'll predict a bit later. Oh
yeah, of course. I mean, we have to be confident when you're top of the league with the football that we are. We have to be confident. We'd be stupid not to be. Since this is the first time I've spoken to you, I want to ask your opinions on Martial, because the fan base is very divided on Martial. You've got the Martial FC. You've got the standard fans that go, "Oh, Martial's okay. Yeah, he's got this about him. He does this badly." And you've got the Martial haters that go, "Oh, he's absolutely terrible. He's lazy. This and that." What are your opinions on Martial and his form recently?
So I sit right in the middle with Martial because on his day, he's absolutely scintillating, very, very quick, brilliant feet. But he just looks uninterested at the minute. And I don't know whether he's carrying a knock or he's got some personal issues going on. But every time he gets the ball, I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not filled with that buzz because he just hasn't got the energy. I mean, Greenwood's been struggling as well on the right. He obviously had his problems in the summer. And he showed a little bit of form against Liverpool. But yeah, Martial for me, he's got to wake up and soon because, Cavani's coming in at 33 and showing him what a striker's all about. I know they're different players, but Martial really has got to find some form for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially the Cavani thing, the mentorship that he can give him. In terms of you, then, how important do you think Cavani is to this team? Because in midweek we saw Ollie come out and say, he does play a mentor role to people like Greenwood and Martial. What attributes of Cavani do you think that Martial can learn, that Greenwood could learn?
Well, the interesting thing about Cavani is, I did say this on the Wall of Reds the other day, his anticipation in the box is second to none. I haven't seen anything like it since probably we had Rude up top for us. He is absolute sharp as a button. He is anticipating 2 or 3 passes where the ball is going to be, where I need to be within that box at any one time. And what he isn't getting is kind of the service. And what the lads need to look at is his aptitude and his attitude in the game. He never stops. He's running constantly. He's either closing down a central half, he's closing down a fullback, or he's going back into midfield to help the lads out. He really is probably the model professional. Look, everybody raised an eyebrow to panic buy, etc., etc., etc. He's injured. He's only been at PSG. He's been on holiday. The guy's a seasoned international. He learned his trade at Napoli. He will score goals wherever he goes. And if we can get, I hope we can get another 3 years out of him, because I just think he's almost. Obviously, he's not Cristiano Ronaldo level, but he's almost got that fitness and that will to win. He's got that work ethic, which Martial right now hasn't got, and Greenwood needs to take a look at him. So I think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
100%, and I think that number 9 role is something that we can improve on. Obviously, it's not the highest of priorities for me. I think we still need more depth at centre back and probably a defensive midfielder. Yep. But definitely, the number 9 role is somewhere we can fill in. And as Hammer says in the comments, if Martial doesn't, kick on, those Haaland talks will start again. Now, Haaland's been linked with Manchester City, obviously, but we all know his relationship with Ollie. Being managed by him and sort of brought up under Ollie. Potentially that could be an option, but I don't want to go into transfers because I hate speaking about transfers all the time.
What I'll say about Haaland is he's got this unique ability to find the back of the net, but I tell you, his overall game is shocking. It's absolutely terrible. His control isn't the best. He's awkward. He's languid. He will have to change his overall play and become a better player. I don't know if you recall when Andy Cole first joined the club at Newcastle. He was a striker. He was an absolute goal scorer. What Fergie did, he developed him into a footballer. He developed his awareness. I met him a couple of years ago and I had a really good conversation with him. And he's the best exponent of scoring with his back to goal in the Premier. If you clip Andy Cole, a lot of his goals, he was 6 yards out, back to goal, and he'd swivel. We haven't got a player like that right now. Now, Haaland could probably, maybe has got the attributes to do that, but his overall game, he needs improving.
Oh yeah, 100%. But as always, we focus on what we have at our disposal now.
Yes.
And I do think we have enough to beat Sheffield United, obviously. In terms of you then, let's get your final thoughts and what you expect from the game. What kind of game are you expecting today?
I'm expecting a tough one. As I said, the opening, I think they'll come and pretty much suffocate us. But I think we'll probably outscore them 2-0. I mean, Billy Sharp might get on the end of one. I don't see Mcgoldrick doing it. I think Wilder will come to try and hold on as best as he can. But again, I'll go back to I would have given DVB a shout tonight. He's got to get in. Ollie's got to start playing him against these real tough teams. Burnley, I would have played him at Burnley as well. Because if we are in and around the top 3 when we come to play City, it could be absolutely pivotal if we pick up an injury, and if DVB's had no football in between now and then, it could be detrimental to us. So, but anyway, I'm going to go for 2-0. I'm going to go for Greenwood and Fernandes.
Greenwood and Fernandes in a 2-0 win. Stu, you've been absolutely brilliant, mate. Well done. Some great points as well. You're very well spoken. You will definitely be a regular face in All for United. So I hope you enjoy your podcast tomorrow as well.
Yeah, thanks very much, Karthik, and thanks to the watchers.
And we might have just lost him.
Oh, I'm back.
You're back. Yeah, you're back. Yeah, I was just saying, enjoy your podcast tomorrow.
I will do, Karthik, and thanks.
And we lost him again. What's going on here?
I don't know. I'm still live, or I can see live. No. Hello. Hello.
Right, I'm back. That was a bit awkward. My internet's absolutely kicked me. This is stupidity at its finest. I would like to apologise to everyone. Stu, thank you, mate, if you're still watching. Ben's here to try and save the day.